is the main event. Mark's podcast, now on the Unhinged Sports Network. Here with you today, your first co-host, getting extreme. I am Troy. And joining me today, he's unfortunately landing on that grenade he tried to avoid. He is the walking wrestling encyclopedia and the main event collector. He is the Jack Victory to my Steve Corino. He's Greg. What's up, Greg?
Hi, Spot.
You gonna get somebody to put you over on live pay-per-view?
I'm already over. You're damn right I'm over.
You almost... Wow, nice. I used to be over. But getting into this today, man,
yeah,
obviously we don't have Jacob Grandi with us today. He was supposed to be here, but you know what? Life gets in the way, man. He actually had, real-world things to do outside of audio. Not that you and I don't. We were just able to get our schedules to mesh a little better than Jacob was.
Should we just acknowledge that nobody would want to do this? So I win.
I will tell you right now, I was sitting here, I'm diving into the show, and I'm like, why the hell did I book this show again? And
yeah, I want to make that clear. I didn't give this a suggestion.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily argue it, but I wasn't gung-ho, let's do this.
Yeah, it wasn't an anniversary. I mean, it's a 21-year anniversary, so it's whatever. But, I was sitting here like, why the hell did I book this show again? And then there's one moment I'm like, oh, yeah, that's why. And we'll get into it. But there's a lot of news and notes to dive into. Before we get into all that, just want to direct everybody to, first of all, subscribe and leave a review. So if you don't follow us on social media, which you definitely should, you will still get notified if you subscribe to the podcast. And if you leave a review, please give us a 5-star and actually, give us some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. Hopefully it's good, but, either way, that'll actually get us seen more. So leaving reviews really helps, whether you're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, whatever. I usually use iTunes, or excuse me, it's not iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell. But that's what I usually
Nobody's ever
use.
Going to call it anything but iTunes, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I use. So I can tell you right there, it's super simple. I've never left feedback on a podcast on any other platform, so I can't really help you out there. But if you're listening to us on those platforms, I'm sure you know how to use it better than I do. Please subscribe, leave a review, and put us in your notifications. And also, before we get into our break, the main event Marks and Unhinged Sports Network as a whole is sponsored by Fubo TV and Fanatics. You'll hear more about them in the break. Click on the links down in the show description and let them know that main event Marks and Unhinged Sports Network sent you. Now let's get into our first break so we can dive into, oddly enough, the butt ton of news that we have to bring you today. Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. It's the very best of professional wrestling's past every Monday on
Retro Wrestling Review.
I'm your host, Troy, and together we'll hop on my time-traveling wrestling ring and watch along to the greatest matches from yesteryear in the sport of kings.
As complex, as controversial, and as brilliant, really, as he is.
On Triple R, we'll cover matches from across the world, including American territories, Canada, Mexico, and Japan.
Fast action, lots more than that.
You'll learn some things, find out about wrestlers and matches you never even knew about, and we'll have some laughs. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Retro Wrestling Pod. Retro Wrestling Review is available wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube, served up fresh every Monday morning.
Unbelievable! The crowd absolutely stunned!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show. All right, we are back. Again, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are listening to us in podcast platform or on a podcast platform, we are actually live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, not Pacific, that Greg goes off of. So I guess for people in your area, it'd be 5 p.m. But we are on unhingedsn.airtime.pro. And if you're coming in a bit late, our replay is Thursday at 6 p.m. Or for Greg and people out there, Pacific time world, it's 3 p.m. So there you go. WWF officially gave notice to the USA Network on the week of this ECW pay-per-view, saying that they're canceling their contract effective in September. WWF's deal with USA expires in September of 2001, but there is a clause that allows WWF to get out of the deal a year early by giving 6 months' notice, which they have now officially done. This doesn't necessarily mean that the WWF is leaving USA, but it means that they can now legally shop around their cable package, their big-ass, meaty cable package, to other networks.
Crap.
Too much?
No, just the right amount.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently CBS Viacom is looking to make a huge investment in bringing in the WWF. CBS is in the midst of a merger with Viacom, and Viacom owns 50% of the UPN, which at this time aired SmackDown. Word is that they're trying to get 100% ownership of UPN, which, if they do, that will also give CBS Viacom the rights to SmackDown as well.
I think I got all that.
Yeah. So either way, there's a lot to unpack here. But basically, I mean, USA did not retain Raw. We know that they...
Spoilers!
Yeah, wow, gosh. Yeah. Well, they said, not to get ahead to the pay-per-view we're about to watch, but, I mean, Cyrus is there, and he is the network representative for TNN, which is the channel ECW is on, and there was a rumor that as soon as WWF was on the market, which they're about to be, that TNN wanted them. And so ECW was getting out ahead, basically making the network the heel. The heel! They came out of a cable box!
So they're over!
And, hey, that hair on Don Callis was over with me, alright?
Come on, Don, 69 me!
What the hell?
Real quote on real TV, folks.
Yeah, that, we're moving right along. But
Twinkle toes, big finger bang is actually that. Anyways, I move on.
Yeah.
Stay with
But yeah, so ECW was kind of getting out ahead. They were like, hey, boo the network. And, so that when they eventually did get dropped, they could be like, well, it was all the network's fault, not ours. And apparently ECW was kind of just like, just people out there might know what I'm talking about here. Like, there's a really hot chick you want to ask to the dance, but she's taken. And you're like, her best friend is good looking, I guess. I'll ask her. I know she'll say yes. That's basically what ECW was for TNN.
Oh, analogy.
It's the best thing I could come up with. I mean, like ESPN, gosh. No, they're actually good programming. But ECW was just kind of there. They qualified as wrestling, and TNN wanted to dip their toe into the water. So, that's what they got. I think TNN kind of regretted the deal, but they, it all worked out in the end. You think about it.
Oh, ECW got it in the end.
Well, that they did.
Even though I hate them, that was messed up.
It was. Well, that's why in September, like the September time when, basically as soon as they went on the Raw went on the market, TNN swooped in, and from what I recall, USA Network dropped out of negotiations in less than a month because they were just like, yeah, we're not winning this battle, and they gave up. And Viacom was like, all right, ours now.
And they give $100 million to Vince McMahon, like he needs it.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
why I love that promo so much.
But yeah, so they did that, and as soon as they announced, well, Raw is coming to TNN, then ECW was like, well, yeah, but you don't need two wrestling networks on ESPN or on TNN, do you? And they were like, no, we don't. Wink. It's like, yeah, you guys are done.
But at the end of the day, ECW is these little, I'm trying to find the right word.
They're
little dog.
It was their feeding ground, basically. I mean, think about it. At this time, WWE picked the bones of ECW. It was like, all right, we took everybody we gave a crap about. You can have the rest. Yeah, they would eventually get Raven,
Rhino,
Lane Storm, Rhino, yeah. So there were still a couple people that came over in the end, but it's weird to think that Lane Storm was on the show in March, by the way, and then he would jump to WCW really quickly after this and just
for maybe
dominate.
One of the greatest pushes in history.
Yeah, he wasn't there very long. Mike Awesome, too. He was about to make the jump.
Probably already did.
Yeah, making backdoor deals. For those that just
Say
to
about
wrap
this Judas.
Right. To wrap this story up with a nice little bow, just to let everybody know, the TNN, which ECW was on and eventually picked up WWE Raw, they became Spike, and they are now the Paramount Network. Speaking of the television situation here, we've talked about them a few times during this era. The head of the PTC group wrote an article in the New York Post talking about the CBS-Viacom merger, saying that it would combine two of the biggest offenders of sleaze in America today, Howard Stern and the WWF.
Oh, I think Jerry Springer may have something to say about that.
Yeah, Jerry Springer's like, whoa, hold my beer. Actually, in his case, it would be more like, oh, hold my stripper. But anyway, he also talked about the case in Florida with a 12-year-old who is being tried as an adult for killing a 6-year-old girl while allegedly doing wrestling moves on her. For those that...
Why is that the second time this has come up now in like a couple of weeks?
Yeah, for those that want more on the story, want to know what the hell we're talking about, you can either go back in the archives 2 weeks ago on the... I'm trying to... Greed. Our WCW Greed podcast. We talk about it in the news. Or you can check the clip out on YouTube about Lionel Tate. That's exactly what we're talking about here. It was not due to wrestling. More on that later. But he claimed that the girl's brain injuries were consistent with the effects of a stone-cold stunner. Yeah.
How?
Uncle Dave Meltzer is perplexed, since, for one, that's not true, and for two, that's not even what the people involved in the case are saying. So this a-hole is just making this crap up so he can crap on the WWF.
Whoever sells.
So,
the irony of Dave Meltzer saying that, by the way. Anyways.
Yeah, I know, right? So, who knows where he pulled this out of his ass from? Anyway, he was basically trying to paint the WWF as responsible for the girl's death. Yeah, that's, like...
That's what we said, too, like, even right at this point. There are other wrestling companies. Why is it WWE was singled out one?
And I
get it, it's the biggest one, I get it, but...
Yeah, and I get, don't think I don't get the argument, Eric Bischoff talking about how small ECW was, or time slot kind of sucked, and, and all this other stuff. I get that, but it still bears the fact that it is the number 3, I guess by default, wrestling company in America. They are on national...
It's actually number 2, but...
Wow. Yeah, wow. Good grief. But anyway, they are on national television at this point, and it's funny, by the way, because it's called the Nashville Network, but it's a national television station.
Luckily, I was white enough to be able to watch that.
Yeah, exactly. And they are promoting the roughest looking stuff we're going to see on the show, by the way. But who does the PTC come after? The WWF. All right.
Just hearing that name is just, I know what's coming.
Yeah,
PTC.
garbage. The two...
No, what
yeah.
that's going to inspire in pro wrestling, the PTC.
Oh gosh, yeah. There are two names that when I throw them out in a news story, it's going right to shameless garbage reporting and butthurt crying. It's the PTC and Phil Mushnick.
Phil Mushnick actually makes me like Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, right. When you're so horrible that Dave Meltzer hates you, that's pretty bad, dude. Speaking of that Lionel Tate case, by the way, The Rock was scheduled to testify in it, but his testimony was postponed. The Rock was subpoenaed by the defense, who apparently wanted to have a wrestler testify about how certain moves are done. Apparently, they also tried to get Hulk Hogan and Sting. None of them came in, none of them testified, and the WWF sued the lawyer.
See, this is why we need David Schultz.
Yeah, right, he can go in there and... You don't want to put him on the stand, because he'll be like, wrestling's real! I killed a man! I'm like, did you? No. Well, keeping on the track of exploitation here, getting into this next thing, the New York Daily News published a big 3-part story about the plague of early deaths in the wrestling industry that featured a lot of new information. The story discussed Brian Pillman with quotes from his wife Melanie. She talked about Brian's use of steroids, HGH, and painkillers, while focusing heavily on Pillman's doctor, Dr. Hackett, who also prescribed drugs to Louise McCauley. Vince McMahon was quoted in the story saying that Pillman has passed a drug test before his death. However, Uncle Dave says the opposite, saying that the test actually showed nandrolone, which is a steroid, in Pillman's system, which he claimed was left over from a long time ago. Okay, first of all...
Because Meltzer was there, right? So
yeah, it's like, how do you know? They don't make these tests public. And you're not going to... Like, there's HIPAA laws, too. You're not going to call...
You don't have to make medical records public. It's against the law unless you have the okay to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The HIPAA laws prevent this stuff from being public. There's 0% chance of it. I mean, unless Brian Pillman himself, which I guess I wouldn't put it past Brian to talk to him, but I don't know. I mean, that's the only way I can think of that he could have got that information is if he talked to Brian Pillman himself, who admitted, yeah, I had nandrolone in my system, and it was left over from a long time ago. But either way, the story talked about Ahmed Johnson being prescribed painkillers, steroids, by the same doctor, although Ahmed told the reporter that he had since found God and cleaned up his drug problem.
That's weird. I don't remember him going to jail.
Good grief.
Look, I maintain that God is in jail, because that's where everyone finds him.
Yeah, that's where Dog the Bounty Hunter found him. Either way, it was noted that the Patriot Del Wilkes had obtained large quantities of drugs from Dr. Hackett, who knew that Wilkes was distributing them illegally to other wrestlers. Dr. Hackett refused to comment.
What year are we in right now? 2000?
Yeah.
March 2000, right?
Yeah.
Where the hell was the Patriot this time?
I don't know.
Why are we talking about it? Like, where the hell did that name even come from? Because of my knowledge, he's not even in wrestling in 2000.
I think, well, they're going back in time because, I mean, because Pillman died in 96?
Sorry,
or 97.
I just realized this is a report about everything, not the time. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
all right, I got mixed up, but still.
Look at Ahmed Johnson in the year 2000. You think he was still on roids and painkillers? I mean, come on.
To be really honest, and I'm not, like, poking fun at body types, but, like, when he went to WCW, he looks like he gained, like, 100 pounds of, like, not really muscle mass. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
For me, it's the complete opposite. Maybe he was on them, and then he went off them and bloated up, which I think is a side effect.
Or, well, I've also seen, like, people, like, lean way the hell out and kind of lose definition.
Yeah, Chris Masters, but...
Wow. Like Ahmed, he could have been on them because a side effect of taking steroids and not working out, like we talked about before, is you get fat. So, I don't know. Maybe that was it. Here's another story out of the New York Post. This one isn't necessarily bad for WWE. It kind of depends on the way you take it. The New York Post wrote a story about the controversy surrounding the WWF trying to bury Beyond the Mat.
This thing will never die.
No.
God, this freaking film is gonna survive the atomic bomb with cockroaches.
Right. Well, they talk about how McMahon flexed his muscle and got USA and UPN to ban advertising for the movie on their channels completely. Not like during WWF programming, but just 24/7, no advertisements. Apparently, Lionsgate producers offered to remove the footage of McMahon himself from the commercials if he would lift the ban, but McMahon still refused. For what it's worth, Vince did ultimately agree to allow Mick Foley to appear on Larry King Live to be interviewed about the movie. The article also claimed that prior to this, McMahon spoke with the producers about buying into the movie to help produce and fund it, and presumably to have some say over what made the final cut. But producer Barry Blaustein, I think it's Blaustein, whatever. He turned him down because he felt that it would hurt the film's credibility if one of the subjects of the documentary also had the financial stake in it. WWF PR rep Jim Byrne claimed that WWF officials had screened the movie and didn't want any part of it simply because they found it boring. Yeah, that's why, because it was boring. Not because it was super depressing and showed a dark side of wrestling that WWF didn't like to highlight.
Well, Jake the Snake alone.
Yeah. who the hell watched that film and said, man, this is boring? I mean, like, if you're not into wrestling and you don't know who these people are, sure, maybe. Like, what?
Yeah, I remember just watching it, and, like, I didn't know Jake was that bad off when I first saw it.
When did this film, did it drop in 2000 or 99, whatever?
Late 99, early 2000. I know that because footage of the Royal 99 is on there.
Okay.
Like the I Quit match, so.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so I was 9. So I don't know any of this stuff. And I'm watching this just, like, stunned. Like, imagine, like, a little 9, 10-year-old me picks this up from Blockbuster. I'm like, oh, it's a wrestling movie. Cool. And it's, like, behind the scenes. I've never seen that before. And I'm just like, holy crap. What the hell is with Jake the Snake? Yeah.
Admittedly, I like the fact that APW was involved in it.
Yeah.
One of our listeners will not like that because there's a guy there he despises, but he's no longer with us. But he's in the movie prominently.
Oh. Is it Michael Modest?
Mike Modest is one of the performers. The guy's Roland's. I forget his last name. He was the promoter of APW.
Oh, okay.
Roland something. Mike Modest was like his star pupil.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, and you can see like the little garage that's like 2 miles from my house in that film, which I thought was pretty cool.
2 lawsuits between the Ultimate Warrior and the WWF were settled out of court. Warrior had sued WWF over a bunch of trademark violations, using his likeness for things that he didn't approve of, blah, blah, blah. And defamation of character for saying on TV that Warrior had no-showed dates. WWF countersued over him using the Warrior name and likeness that they claimed that they owned rights to, and all of that fun stuff. Anyway, they were both settled, and the terms are confidential. Yeah, I mean, Warrior changed his frickin' name to Warrior legally, like he's Prince.
Because that's not insane.
Yeah, right. I mean, hell, Prince changed his name to a symbol. So, he's right in that same boat. But,
it's a symbol, like Prince. Prince who?
Right. Fingerprints. Anyway, yeah, and the whole thing, like, his case in court, besides the fact that his legal name's now Warrior, was he was like, well, I was doing the Dingo Warrior, basically the same gimmick, before I ever went to the WWF. Which, he did, so he had a case. I don't know what all the terms were, I just know that he did a lot of crap that, I can't believe Vince let him get away with some of the stuff he did. Like, he thought he was a big enough star that he was just like, we'll do anything you want. Just whatever.
If you go back and watch the Self-Destruction of Warrior DVD, like, really, Vince McMahon does not really bury him on there. Everyone else does. Other than the whole, I cannot wait to fire him.
Wow, sounded like Eric Bischoff with Honky Tonk Man. But anyway, here's a fun one. The Rock will be playing some sort of heel scorpion character in the new Mummy movie coming out next year.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I'm going to tell you this. I remember that movie like with a fog of nostalgia because I loved it when I watched it. Like me and my dad, I think saw it in theaters or right when it came out on VHS, whatever the hell, and I loved it. And I went back just a year ago and I watched it again and I was like, this movie kind of blows.
The first Mummy was great. Everything else after that I never cared about.
Yeah, the first Mummy still holds up. Great movie. Second movie, I was just like, I remember this being so much better. Like, I loved this movie. Why? Like, I had no idea it sucked. And then the third Mummy is just unwatchable. Like, that's not even worth getting into. And I love Jet Li. And it just sucked.
Oh, it sucked?
It did. Trish Stratus made her on-screen debut on Sunday Night Heat, scouting Test during his match with Gangrel. She also appeared later in the show, scouting Albert. Oh, boy.
Can we just acknowledge, by the way, that TNA was not Vince Russo? Is anybody else shocked at that? I
am. Yeah, the TIT was totally him, but TNA, not him. Davey Boy Smith is in rehab for an addiction to painkillers, sleeping pills, muscle relaxers, and morphine. He's going to the same place in Atlanta that Steven Regal was sent to, and is expected to spend several months there. Wow. Unfortunately, he did not have a positive end to his story. That really sucks because I was a big fan of his.
Yeah, them boys love their drugs, man. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, speaking of Steven Regal, fresh off being fired by WCW, he's been given another chance by the WWF, but they're starting slow by sending him to Memphis to work for Jerry Lawler's promotion so he can get back in shape.
It's a shame they didn't bring him back as the working man. I think they missed that boat.
Oh yeah, the real man's man. Yeah, that was great.
Such a man.
I remember I wasn't watching a whole lot during that time, but my dad would still watch Raw, and he was just like, the F is this? Like, I don't think anybody really got the joke. I don't know. It was dumb. A couple of Shawn Michaels students were recently signed to the WWF developmental deals. Lance Cade is said to be having a ton of potential and could be a big star. He's tall and is said to remind people of a young Barry Windham. The other is Spanky, who is said to have great facial expressions and is funny, but is really small. They did a lot with Spanky throughout the years. Unfortunately, Lance Cade left us way too soon. I don't know, man. I realize
still going, man.
I know.
And he still hasn't aged.
Yeah, I know,
He's
right?
on that Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels thing, whatever they got.
I think that's why he grew the goatee, because it ages him a little bit. But, yeah, I have Jack's figures of him, by the way. I have him as his first run as the Brian Kendrick, and then I have him in a 2-pack with Paul London.
I love that team.
I did, too. The thing about Lance Cade, though, like, I don't know, I always thought he had a good look. When they changed him to the cowboy thing, I was like, alright, cool, whatever, him and Trevor Murdoch were fine. He didn't have it, I don't think, but I thought he was, I didn't think he was bad at all. Wasn't he somebody's bodyguard for a second?
Yes.
Jericho.
Was he Jericho's?
Yeah, it was he was Chris Jericho's heavy, I'm pretty sure.
Jericho's heavy.
Yeah. He's always got
he's always got one of those. He's got one now, too. That's... I'll leave that joke alone.
Jack Hagar.
Not an MMA fighter.
Wow. Hey, he's still undefeated in MMA, Greg.
Yeah, totally. He beat, yeah.
Yeah. Eric Bischoff is meeting with Turner executives this week to discuss getting out of his contract and non-compete clause so he can start doing something else. Right now, he's just sitting home collecting a check.
Wow, I wonder how that's going to go.
Yeah. Well.
Again, March of 2000 here?
Yeah, so he'll be back next month.
Be back in like a week?
Yeah. Yeah, he talked about he was, like, sitting at home for the longest time. He literally said he was, like, watching an episode of Nitro, like, not by choice. He said they had it on a TV in the bar.
Yes, I heard that one. I think I just listened to that episode.
Yeah, and he said he looked up and saw like a little bit of it on the TV. And he told his wife, he said, I guarantee you I'll be getting a call in a couple days. And sure enough, they were like, hey, do you think you can work with Vince Russo?
That's before he knew him too, right? So he's like, I can work with anybody.
Yeah, I think he knew him a little bit, like when he was there the first time. But he said
he didn't know him. He wouldn't have went back if he knew him.
Yeah, well, he said he didn't know him that well, but he didn't like what he knew about him. But he said he's willing to give him a second chance. Yeah, but yeah, keeping on with the WCW circle and the drain stuff. Here's kind of a long story, but it's funny in a sad way. Like, it's so sad it makes you laugh. WCW.
Hold on, man. Give me a second to prepare for that.
Yeah, strap yourself in. WCW embarked on a tour of the UK and sold out 3 consecutive 10,000 plus shows. 10,000 plus, I think they mean seats at shows, and sold out all of their merchandise. But while they sold out the shows and made big money at the gate, by the end of the shows, it was the typical kill the town mentality of WCW, with pretty much unanimous negativity in reviews and complaints about stars like Goldberg, DDP, Sting, Scott Hall, Jeff Jarrett, Sid Vicious, and others not even being there, even though they were advertised. Jarrett only missed one show in his defense because he lost his passport. Vicious wasn't on the tour because he's allegedly not allowed in the country after his 1993 stabbing incident with Arn Anderson, although Uncle Dave pointed out he did work for the WWF in England in '96, so none of that adds up. Bret Hart went and got...
It could have been because he was Sid Justice, right? Wait, what year was it?
It was '96.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, at this point, what would he have done? He was like, oh wait, no, that was 2001 I'm thinking of, never mind. He was still wrestling. I always forget what year Sin was in. Ugh, gosh. But anyway, Bret Hart went and got huge responses in every city, and he cut promos every night to the crowd that loved him, and he said he had been advised not to fly due to his concussion, but he did anyway because he didn't want to miss the chance to come back to England, and said that he would give anything to be able to wrestle there, but said that his injuries are too severe, and he basically said goodbye to his fans, leaving many thinking that he may be retiring. Finally, Kevin Nash was there, still injured, but making appearances on crutches, and was apparently pretty out of it in Birmingham, slurring his words. Wait a minute, so that was Kevin Nash and not Scott Hall?
Well, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, I guess. I don't understand. I realize they're big names, but if they're like him, he's so injured he's on crutches. Why even pay the money to fly his big ass out there?
He's gonna put his fists in the air.
I guess. I don't know. That's just stupid. More on the racial discrimination lawsuit being filed by Sonny Ono, Hardbody Harrison, and Bobby Walker.
Real names.
Yeah. The lawsuit also argues that their status as independent contractors is illegal and that they were denied employee benefits like vacation and sick time. Walker, who is still technically under contract to WCW, claims that he would be a huge...
I'm sorry, it's like, why is he still in contract?
I know. Dude, I couldn't...
hard working.
Who's Bobby Walker? Like, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
He's the guy that works hard. God, you're stupid.
Bobby Walker? I don't even know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. Until this story, I had no idea that he was even a black guy. So, hold on to your ass for this one, man. You ready for this statement?
Well, when you started like that.
Well, Bobby Walker claims that he would have been a huge babyface star if not for the racism in WCW.
Oh, God.
And he says that he was told by someone in WCW management that he wasn't being pushed because not enough black people watch wrestling.
Who the hell could have said that?
For God's sake. I know. Like, Bill Watts wasn't even there. WCW spokesman Alan Sharp has claimed that about 87% of WCW's audience is white. Okay.
Yeah, but how do you really measure that?
I mean, the same way they determine what age of the viewer is. But
I don't believe those either. I think that's really... No, I just don't think that's
It's subjective, yeah. It's never going to be completely accurate. No, you're right. But yeah, it just... So...
This is like the year in Booker T is about to become world champion, by the way.
4 times, yeah.
Remind me, what color is he? I forget.
He's dark white, Craig.
Always got to hold down the hard-working Bobby Walker, man.
Yeah, because when I think should have been a main event star misvote, I think Bobby frickin' Walker. God. Speaking of lawsuits, the punk band The Misfits are threatening to sue WCW, claiming that Vampiro is using their look and that his ring gear and merchandise has artwork associated with the band's signature look.
Wouldn't they end up coming in?
Did they come in 2000?
Yeah, pretty sure Jerry Only came in right away. So is this part of the settlement?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. It's like, whoa, hey, if you drop the lawsuit, we'll let you come in and work a few matches.
Okay.
Yeah, that's weird. You weren't watching... You said you started watching UFC in 03?
Yeah, about.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, but it's funny. And it's only funny because the guy wasn't seriously hurt, so I just want to mention it real quick. UFC 24 is in the books, and this is way too interesting not to write about. It was supposed to be heavyweight champion Kevin Randleman versus Pedro Rizzo, but during the show, while warming up backstage, Randleman stepped on a pipe and fell down, cracking his head on the floor. He suffered a serious concussion and began vomiting in the ambulance on his way to the hospital. He still wanted to fight, though, but needless to say, it was not allowed. during the show, the announcers stopped hyping the main event, and it seemed to be stalling for time as the show ran long. Finally, they announced in a backstage interview that the fight was canceled. Unfortunately, this was the only match that anyone watching or attending the show actually cared about. Due to commission rules and things like that, they were not able to scrape together a replacement main event in time. The live crowd booed the hell out of it.
Ah, man. It's just a couple of flashbacks here. Number one, a couple of weeks ago, a guy was waiting in the cage for his opponent. All of a sudden, it's announced he has back spasms, pulling out, the match is off.
Holy hell.
Not the same as that, but it's close enough. And then I remember I went to a Bellator event with one of our listeners, and we're walking up, and we found out from people leaving pissed off that Matt Mitrione had gotten kidney stones, so the fight with Fedor was off.
Oh, what?
And that one's more closer to this because that's the only match anyone give a damn about.
Yeah, good grief.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you book one fight that anybody cares about, and the rest of the card is just filler.
That was a theme back then, though, to be fair.
Yeah. Now UFC is a little smarter about it, where there are multiple fights on card that people want to see.
I think there's not been a card this year, at least a pay-per-view one, where there weren't at least 3 fights I want to see.
Yeah. I mean, kind of everything used to do that. Wrestling was that way. I think boxing is still that way. I mean, once in a while you get 2 or 3 fights, if you're lucky, that are, ones people care about. But, I don't know. Last couple stories here are actually about ECW, so I saved them for last. Sabu is seemingly done with ECW for good. Gone forever, bro. He came back briefly and worked 2 house shows last week. Sabu showed up at the next TV taping at the ECW arena and was given a script by Paul Heyman, which laid out plans for Sabu to put over Super Crazy in a TV title tournament match. Sabu took one look at it and walked out of the arena, saying that he was not going to do the job. Heyman reportedly knew that Sabu would not agree to do the job, and in fact, the reason he wrote it out in a script was so that he would have tangible evidence in case Sabu decided to go to court. Heyman can show evidence that Sabu was refusing to go along with plans and was thus breaching his contract. Gotta hand it to Paul. That's shrewd business, and very smart on his part.
I feel like Sabu has done this a couple of times.
Probably. Last story here. The ECW Hardcore Revolution video game has sold over 600,000 copies and was the number 2 selling PlayStation game last week and number 6 selling for N64. Did you ever play this?
I owned it.
Oh, really? What do you think of it?
If you liked WWF Attitude, it was exactly the same, but they just copy and paste it and put ECW guys over it, so I liked it. Acclaim was really lazy, clearly. Go back and play it. Move for move, everything's the same.
Just different characters, yep. I remember, because I played, you remember Warzone, WWF Warzone?
I do.
Yeah, that was like the precursor to Attitude. And then this game got crapped out, and I was like, this is, like you said, it's Attitude, but with ECW guys.
Yeah, and then they came out with Anarchy Rules, which...
I never played that one.
I believe to this day, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's the only game that ever featured the dumpster match.
Wow, nice.
It's also the first game that ever featured the Inferno match.
Oh, wow.
And barbed wire ropes, so... I mean, it was kind of revolutionary in a way.
This game...
I'm going to give it credit for what it did.
Well, this game, Hardcore Revolution, despite what I just said about it being the number 2 selling PS1 game of the week or whatever, it was a flop.
Well, the problem with it was everybody that wanted it bought it that first week, and that was it.
Yep. Well, yeah, they've got
when you're number 1
audience.
for a week, it's because all the faithfuls and hardcores went out right away. But that was all that was going out.
Well, you notice their video game was a knockoff of a WWF game we already played. Their toys...
Now hold on, though. To be fair, that's not them. That's Acclaim being lazy.
Well, no. I'm not necessarily blaming them, but then on the flip side, their toys were basically knockoffs of WCW toys that we already had from the mid-90s.
A little closer to Remco, which was AWA, but yeah.
Yeah, so, and those were not top sellers either.
Although now worth trillions of dollars. So go figure.
No, I'm sure. But on the other side of this break, we are going to finally, after all this news, dive into ECW's Living Dangerously 2000.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been trying to prolong this. Here we are.
Well, yeah, we are here on the other side of this break.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan.
Alan.
Oh, yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
Oh, we share the room.
Shared a room.
We share the room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast.
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The
Roadcast.
Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah. Well.
What do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAST. Nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. You spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show. This is a content warning. The following audio review of Extreme Championship Wrestling's Living Dangerously 2000 event contains sensitive material not suited for all audiences. The content of the event being reviewed does contain references to attempted sexual assault, derogatory insults, extreme violence, and attempted murder. If you are uncomfortable with these subject matters, please tune out now and join us on Friday for our review of TNA Destination X. You have been warned.
All right, we're here, and it is time to start living dangerously, Greg.
I
Shout
have
out.
done live dangerously by watching this.
You did. Just a reminder real quick, everybody, if you're listening to this on podcast platform, then please subscribe and leave a review. But if you are listening to us on the Unhinged Sports Network, we appreciate it. If you're not, you can hear us live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you're a bit late and you want to catch the whole show, the replay is Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Only on Unhinged, right?
Yeah, unhingedsn.airtime.crew. But getting into this, ECW's Living Dangerously 2000 took place March 12, 2000 at the O'Neill Center in Danbury, Connecticut.
It just sounds like overwhelming.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is Danbury, Connecticut? I realized that, like
a cop in like a horrible comedy. Officer Danbury.
Officer Dingleberry. It's in Danbury, Connecticut. Apparently, it's
Okay, first of all, Connecticut. That's not WWE's territory. How the hell did they even get up there?
Because it is a very, very small venue. I will tell you now, the attendance for the show is 5,000, but their Wikipedia page for the venue actually says it only seats 4,500. So they packed people in there with a crowbar all the way to the rafters.
All right, because I shit on ECW so much, I do got to give them credit, man. Their hardcores came out in droves.
Oh, they did, yeah.
I mean, I will never be able to take that away from them. Like, people like ECW, man, they went. So, I mean, I don't ever remember looking at an ECW show, and I honestly didn't look at it like this, but, I never saw, a empty house. They were there.
Yep.
So, I mean,
well,
to their credit, they drew people.
That is true.
That is what?
That is correct. The O'Neill Center is a multi-purpose athletic complex at Western Connecticut State University in Danbury. So,
you said a mouthful.
Yeah. Apparently, Bob Dylan kicked off his Paradise Lost tour at the arena on December 7th, 1995. So there's a little factoid for you, for what it's worth. Anyway, getting back to this, the pay-per-view buy rate was at 0.24, which amounted to 95,000 buys.
Statute of limitations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy watched it on the old Scrambler, so I watched it with him on there. So.
Oh, you watched this one live?
Watching it back a couple days ago, I realized I did watch it live. Yes.
Did some old emotions come flooding back to you about like how you felt at the time?
I'm gonna be honest. At the time when I watched it, I probably didn't realize how crappy it was. I probably just liked it as wrestling. Looking back, being more educated now.
Yeah. Well, we start off with a sinister minister in an empty arena. I had to be a little smartass and say, I assume this was filmed in the middle of one of their usual TV tapings.
I don't know if being a smartass there or being spot on, but whatever.
Well, we just talked about how their hardcores always pour into the arenas. I kid, but I don't know. They...
Real quick, not to get off topic, but like there was, in the major pod group, this woman posted all of her old ticket stubs, and there are actually people that used to go to every event, like religiously. And I didn't know this, but you could buy that seat for up to 5 shows in advance.
Wow.
If you, like obviously this is probably like the ECW arena or something. You know,
yeah.
But like it had to be obviously the same arena. But like you could buy like season tickets like you would in like a game, like a football game, or baseball. So some people were always in the same seats, and like that kind of opened my eyes as to why you always saw that straw hat guy with the Hawaiian shirt and people like that. So yeah, I didn't know that until like I just looked a couple days ago.
It's like the local indie feds. They all do that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what it was. But, anyway, Sinister Minister says, he talks about ECW's 7 Deadly Sins, comparing people on the roster to each one of them. Super Crazy was, like, greed, and Sally Graciano was gluttony, Dom-Marie, Francine was lust, Raven was sloth, and my favorite was when he got to Wrath, and he said, been there, done that, moving on.
Good lord.
Did you catch that?
I liked Wrath.
I did too. But he also does the typical ECW trope of throwing out a ton of insider terms to the smarks. Like the Wrath thing.
That's kind of elite.
Right. Yeah, well, like the whole thing about Wrath. I mean, unless it's very inside baseball. And then when he talks about Raven taking Sloth to a whole nother level or whatever, and he was like, hey, Scotty, it's a gimmick. Like, good lord. They just smack you in the face with all these insider terms throughout the whole show. If you're a casual viewer, you don't know this stuff. Me as a kid, I didn't know this crap. Even if I was allowed to watch this, I wouldn't have known what the hell they were talking about half the time.
To that, like, that 2% of people knew.
That was my issue with ones like this.
I don't fancy myself like a business expert, but why the hell would you cater to 2% and not the 98?
Yeah, you're preaching to a very small choir. That was my problem with, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent about this. We've talked about it before, but like my issues with stuff that AEW does. They're like, well, they're doing this for their audience, like
specifically the being the elite crap.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're doing it for your audience that has been stagnant for almost the entirety of your existence.
I also want to point out, like, I'm not putting myself on this pedestal. But I'm like, I didn't even know this until you told me. So like, I'm part of that. Part they're not catering to. Like, you told me about the lawnmower crap. Oh, they did it on Being the Elite. Like, okay.
Yeah, and
I guess I get it, but I should not have had to have. And you don't watch as much as me, right? To be fair.
I don't. Oh yeah, I don't watch that.
Why the hell is somebody who barely watches it having to tell someone who watches it every week? That's not okay.
The only reason I know is because I was listening to somebody. I was listening to. You remember when Brody Lee won the TV title? And the next week he comes out and he had like 6 lawnmowers on the stage and whatever. Yeah. And I was like, the hell is he doing? And he was like, making fun of Hangman and whatever. And I'm like, what? And I had to hear, like, Brian Alvarez had to explain it. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's for the nerds.
That's just goes to prove the point right there. Like, you shouldn't have to seek stuff out.
Right. I know.
I think it's stupid, but.
Yep. Uncle Dave said about this show that the production value is bad, even for ECW standards. The arena looked dark, and the sound was poor.
Redundant statement is redundant.
Yeah. I noticed they did the UFC thing, where they put the advertisements in the corner of the ring mat. They put the logo I think it was the logo for the ECW Revolution, or Hardcore Revolution video game in the corner, and it was messing up the screen all night. Did you notice that?
Yes.
You couldn't even see it.
I thought there was like some censoring on the network or something.
No, it was I'm like, did you assholes white balance this before you started filming? It's like, well, who the hell am I asking? Of course you didn't.
What are you talking? What's that?
Yeah, well, white balance, like, I know you probably got some interns from the local community college down the road, but good lord.
You couldn't just have Tommy Dreamer wear a shirt?
Right. But we now go into the arena where Joey Styles informs us that this show is sponsored by ECW Hardcore Evolution, the video game. Joel Gertner goes on his usual gross diatribe. Then Cyrus the Virus.
Yeah, you slept with your mother, whatever, blah, 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 let's go.
Yeah, he stuck it to her, blah, blah, blah. But Cyrus the Virus turns into Vicky Guerrero, coming to the ring shouting, "Excuse me!" before he informs Gertner. That's the first thing I thought of. Yeah, because, like, that's how he introduces it, because, like, you're in the ring with Gertner and Styles, and all you hear is, "Excuse me!" And then he comes down to the ring shouting that. And I'm like, Vicky?
I represent the network.
Yeah. But he comes out and he informs Gertner that the network does not approve of his promo, but Gertner does deliver, and I'm quoting him here, he says Gertner delivers, quote, "that all-important 18 to 34-year-old gay male demographic." First time in the podcast I'm going to use this.
What the fuck?
2000 versus 2021. That's all I'm going to say. Look, all right, let's examine that for a second. He meant it obviously as a stupid joke, right?
And an insult. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Does he realize that by saying that, he's basically saying that's what watches our show? Is that demographic?
Right. And that's who we cater to. Yeah, right.
I mean, I have nothing wrong with that. I don't give a damn, but it's like, you basically just said that's who you're catering to.
I also don't understand how him cutting a promo about how he's banging your mom brings in the gay male demographic. Like, just...
because as we all know, the gay male is like banging your mom. I don't know.
Right. None of this made sense at all. Not only was it, like, insulting, it just didn't make sense. And we have both defended Don Callis on multiple occasions, talking about how big of fans we are of his. But this just was like, what? Either way, Cyrus says that Joel needs to leave so that he can call the show, but Gertner informs Cyrus that this is pay-per-view, so TNN and Cyrus can have no jurisdiction, so he needs to take off. Cyrus threatens to beat Joel's ass.
Hold on, I gotta give him credit for that. I like how they distinguish between pay-per-view and what they do on TV.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I was, because I was sitting there, I was like, why is he even out here? Like, this isn't a TNN product, but either way.
I remember thinking that when I watched it.
Right.
I actually went back to Palmer Cannon on SmackDown.
Oh,
when he was on a couple of pay-per-views. I'm like, why are you here? This is pay-per-view. This is not UPN or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was UPN.
Whatever it was. Yeah. It's on one of those, but yeah.
Right, yeah, stupid. Well, I did like the touch of, as he's walking to the ring, his Chiron, they X out the Living Dangerously, and they put TNN over it. I thought that was a nice touch. But anyway, he says, so TNN and Cyrus needs to take off. Cyrus threatens to beat Joel's ass live on pay-per-view, keeps calling him fat, and the crowd and Gertner do not like this. When Gertner finally steps up to Cyrus begs off, and he waits for Gertner to finally drop his guard, and Cyrus super kicks him. Super kick!
Did he come up with that?
I don't know. That's why he... This
is Ring of Honor.
Did he come up with that thing? No, that was the guy we're going to see next, Steve Corino.
Oh,
okay. He did the super kick, and then whenever Adam Cole would do it, he'd yell, "Cole!" I love that. But anyway, while Cyrus is beating up on Gertner, Styles jumps on Cyrus's back like a damn spider monkey and rolls around on his back for a while before we finally go to the incredibly long, self-gratifying ECW show open. I will say it looked like Styles was trying to butt-buck him, but it was weird. I'm like, have you ever been in even kind of something that resembled a fight, Joey? Because what the hell are you doing?
Well, we know of one.
Yeah, right. But anyway, did you know, is it just me, or was that ECW show open just forever long?
It always was.
That was like 5 minutes. I'm like, get to the damn show!
Got to get the old Fred Durst drop in there too.
I know. Spoiler
Why do
alert.
they act like that was at a show and Steve Corino sought that out?
Right.
They act like he went there, like Limp Bizkit went to an ECW show. I'm like, no.
Where was it?
They just went to one of his shows in Philadelphia.
Wow. I will say this, by the way, spoiler. We don't hear the first bell for the first match until 16 minutes into this. Okay? Keep that in mind. But here's where the F-bombs are going to fly for me, just letting you know, because, yikes. Let's get into it. Steve Corino and Jack Victory are in the ring dressed like cowboys. A production fail has audio from backstage promo playing over Steve Corino for a minute. More on that later in the show when we actually get to that promo. The crowd cheers when Corino calls them drunks and sexual deviants, but boos when he calls them douchebags. Because that's crossing the line. But Corino says
You gotta love how they have a line there.
oh, well, at least you gotta have some standards, Greg.
Yeah, you can talk about gay males and stuff, but don't say that.
Right. But Corino now says that he sees the biggest douchebag of them all and points out Sandman's wife, Lori, in the front row. Why is she in the front row? Don't know, but she is. Corino says that she is a hardcore icon in the ECW locker room, and he goes on and on for quite a while, getting worse and worse, talking about how she left her husband for Raven, and he was giving it to her in the bathroom, and whatever. And then he looks over at her son, who wasn't saying a word, and looks like he just got pulled out of his Little League game to come to the ECW show.
Well, he works with Raven, so I'm sure he was on the side.
Yeah. And he looks at Sandman's son and says, "Shut up, you little bastard. The Sandman's not even your real dad."
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just...
So far, we should keep account of this. They've made fun of homosexuals.
Yep.
And they've called this woman a whore, or quiet one at that.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Call her son a little bastard.
Yeah.
And said that Raven was his dad, or no, that Sandman wasn't his real dad. But then
I can't figure out why this company went under. I'm baffled right now.
Well, it gets better, Greg. Just stay tuned. Corino finally tells her to put him over live on pay-per-view and calls her a whore. And she finally, this was the line, Greg. You talk about standards. Now she stands up and slaps.
Oh, I know what's coming.
And Corino, good grief. Corino pulls her into the ring with Jack Victory, and now Rhino comes out and they hold her on her knees while Corino attempts to whip out his little Stevie.
What the fuck?
Why? But finally, Sandman. First of all, by the way, I gotta point out, Atlas Security was watching all this, didn't do shit.
To be fair, they're probably not told to protect fans from the talent. Probably the other way around.
Yeah, I just like.
I don't know why the hell I'm trying to make an excuse for it. I'm just saying that's all I can think of.
Only protect the talent, okay? If they want to pull somebody in the ring and literally them on pay-per-view, that's fine. But if it's the other way around, you stop that.
Kind of makes Goldust starting to stick his tongue down his throat look kind of tame in comparison, huh?
Right. Well, now Sandman finally gets his drunk ass out to the ring to save her, but Rhino beats him up and pile drives him, so he's useless.
Real quick, if you're in the building, this is not a big building.
Right.
And this is happening to your wife, it takes you this long to come out there?
He had to finish his beer, Greg. God, you're so insensitive.
It's sad that you're not wrong.
Rhino finally gores Lori Sandman. I'm gonna call her Lori Sandman because it's funny. It's like that's their last name and they're Jewish or something.
So it's almost as bad as Dominic Mysterio.
It is, yeah. Or all I can think of is the Friends quote. That's not his name. It's not like he's Phil Spiderman. Anyway, Rhino finally
He's a Sandman.
Yeah. Rhino gores Lori Sandman through a conveniently propped up table in the corner, and now security runs in to break it all up because they've seen enough.
What the fuck?
Good Lord. God. And now finally after...
I may have another apology.
Yeah, I have another volley. Instead of raping her, gore her through a table, sir. God dang it.
People are going to hear this. They're going to think we're making this up. You need to go watch it if you think we're lying. This is all happening.
And
this is real.
Yeah, and I'm not using rape as a joke. I'm not using it like
No,
like lightly.
They did.
Yeah, I'm not using it. I'm not saying this word lightly either. Like he was taking off his belt, like shaking his hips, like he was about to whip it out, and they had her on her knees. So there you go. You can make assumptions from there.
21 years ago too, so we know everyone's okay. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, Sandman's probably drunk somewhere, but
he's about as okay. He's okay by Sandman standards. But after seeing all this, Dusty Rhodes still decided, well, that check cleared, so I better head on out there. Actually, rethinking this, he said, well, Paul Heyman paid me in cash up front, so I better get my big ass out there. I guarantee you he did not accept the check from Paul Heyman. I am willing to bet my life on that.
So I want cash, and I still want 2 points of identification, Paul.
Yeah, I want cash, and I want it before the event. Like a whole 7 days before I go out there, or no go, alright? Anyway, we get this. It's Steve Corino with Jack Victory in his corner taking on Dusty Rhodes in a Texas Bullrope Match. This is the longest match on the card at 10 minutes, 13 seconds. Keep that in mind.
I also just gotta point out, man, like, God, again, going back to the money thing, but man, Dusty needed that money or what?
Well,
I mean, Vince wouldn't give him a job in 2000?
He paid him up front, Greg. Whatever.
Is there enough money to go here?
He paid him cash. He had to put forth minimal effort, and he still got to kind of wrestle. So, whatever. I don't know. But either way, H.C. Loke is the referee for this match, who apparently Corino... Well, the only reason I'm pointing that out is because they did on commentary. Corino and Jack Victory beat the hell out of him in his hometown. So yeah, that's probably not going to play into this finish. Talk about telegraphing the hell out. In what world would that be? You know what? One of the guys in this match beat the crap out of that referee a few weeks ago and embarrassed him on TV. It's fine. He'll be okay to officiate this one. I'm sure he'll call it right down the middle, Daddy. Anyway, getting into the match itself. This is not a regular bull rope match because you win via pinfall or submission. Both men get very bloody because, of course, they did. Commentary puts over the use of the cowbell, which both guys use a lot. Corino
Gotta have more cowbell, man.
Well, Dusty had a fever, and the only prescription was more cowbell. And he got more. Corino even blades his damn arm. That always grosses me out. I don't know why. But H.C. Loke helps Dusty tape a cowbell to Corino's head, and Dusty hits it with a steel chair. Who could have saw that coming? But this was right before Dusty whips off his elbow pad, for some reason flips the double bird to the crowd who cheers him, and then he drops the elbow on him for the win. Okay. Uncle Dave gave it half a star. I gave it 2.5 for average. What say you?
God, I wanted to give it 0, but I gave it 1.
Keep in mind, for everybody out there, I'm grading on the ECW curve standard, okay? So I'm just putting that out there. I'm not grading on the standard of every other show we ever watch.
Yeah, right? Well, keep in mind that ECW is on a straight line, so...
Oh, much like what happens to me after I eat Taco Bell. But anyway.
Did you notice multiple cowbells were used?
I did not notice that.
I think Jack Victory tossed, like, one in the ring at some point.
I might have noticed that, actually. I don't remember. Anyway, yeah.
I just point that out because it's a cowbell match. Shouldn't the bell be in the ring? And then just have another one out there.
Yeah.
Where do you think you get cowbells like that?
Well, probably Cowbells Are Us. I mean, at the time they didn't have an online store, though, so it had to be the local branch.
Also, one more thing I gotta point out, too, man, and I love Dusty, but, like, man, you can tell he was more out of shape than ever.
Yeah.
He was gassing.
Yeah.
Joey Styles, man, he's like, oh, well, he's taking a brutal beating. That's why he's, like, out of breath. Yeah, that's
yeah.
why.
He was here clearly filling the hole left by Terry Funk, and he was helping to put over the new young upstart with Corino.
Yeah, the young guy who was the king of old school.
Yeah, right. And I will say this, Dusty did a good job at his role. That's all I can say. I mean, for what he was supposed to do, he did fine. Anyway, Joey Styles now informs us that Lori Sandman, I'm just going to keep calling her that, is being rushed to the hospital via an ambulance, you know, as if Sandman or ECW could afford an ambulance.
Well, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Ambulance and helicopter, so you shut your mouth.
They blew 2 years' worth of budget on that. But Cyrus now says that since Sandman went to...
What money they spend, that's like 8 years' budget, dude. What are you talking about?
Right. Cyrus now says that since Sandman went to the hospital with his wife, he will forfeit his TV title tournament match against Rhino, who is TNN's chosen champion. So there you go. That match will not happen. Uncle Dave speculates because they've already had a match on TV, and it was horrible, so they had to figure out a way to not do it again. I mean, I buy that. I really do with this company. I buy that. But past that, for those that don't know why the TV title tournament is happening, by the way, Rob Van Dam broke his ankle, and he was on a 23-month run with that belt.
So literally, the only thing worth watching in this entire piece of crap company got hurt.
Basically. Well, what are you talking about, man? This next segment here. Oh, come on. We got Lou E. Dangerously in the ring.
The boss.
Yeah. For those that don't know, it's just a dude who kind of looked like Paul E., and he called himself Lou E. Dangerously.
I think that was Sign Guy Dudley, right? Sure.
No, it's a different guy, because those two were on the same show at the same time, so I know it wasn't them. They look similar, though, but Louie was a little thicker. Either way, he has his new dangerous...
E, by the way, just so everyone knows, not Louie. Louie.
Yeah. Like Paul E, not Paul E. It's Paul E. So, anyway, he has this new dangerous alliance in the ring. You could seriously hear a mouse pissing on cotton from up in the cheap seats during this promo. Nobody gave a damn. But, however, Louie finally starts speaking, and then the crowd gets into it. They chant a-hole at him while he cuts a non-inspiring heel promo about how, you know, he's the top boss and whatever else. I don't know. But we get this next match for reasons. It's the new Dangerous Alliance of C.W. Anderson and beautiful Billy Wiles, along with Louis Dangerously in their corner, taking on Dangerous Danny Doring and Roadkill with Elektra in their corner. This went for 7.5 minutes-ish. Am I the only one that's a little shocked that Dangerous Danny Doring wasn't in the Dangerous Alliance? Makes sense.
I think you are the only one that's shocked.
It makes sense, man.
He wasn't Dastardly yet?
Maybe I'm wrong. You're right, Dastardly Danny Doring.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I'm pretty sure. And also, I'm almost certain that I'm right on Louis being Sign Guy. You might want to check that back.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like 1,000% sure he was Sign Guy Dudley.
You're going to make me Wikipedia, aren't you?
Yeah, because I think you're calling me wrong, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Even though I don't be right on this crap.
Okay, I stand corrected. It was his real name. His name is Lou D'Angeli. He was Sign Guy Dudley / Lou E. Dangerously. I could have sworn, I thought they were both on the same show at the same time, like, together. But I guess I'm wrong. Alright, well, for all of you out there, just shame me while I'm walking down the street, ringing bells, and make sure that everybody knows I was wrong about this one. I deserve a flogging.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
But anyway, getting back to this crap. On the Doring and Roadkill entrance, a plant female in the front row. I don't know how the hell they could afford extras in this company, but they did.
$50, dude.
Yeah, because they had an extra $50 laying around.
They did it with Dusty Rhodes.
Right. It's like, that's for me, baby. We gonna give you something else. You get a check, and that's gonna bounce. But anyway, this woman tries to grab Danny Doring, pull her into the crowd like it's frickin' Shawn Michaels. Elektra gets pissed and goes off on her and pulls Doring back. Cyrus also calls her Erectra. Oh, good lord. And
how much of her was actually like skin, not plastic?
I don't know what the under-over is on that one. But I thought it was funny because he says, he calls her Erectra, and Joey's like, it's Electra, not, and he's like, wait, it's not? And he's like, no, and Cyrus goes, well, that's gonna be hard. In the end, Roadkill goes up top, and Electra trips him, and he comes down ass first into her face.
No.
That was awesome. C.W. Anderson then hits a spinebuster on Doring for the pinfall win. Because, we needed that epic Electra heel turn. Uncle Dave gave it a 1.5. I actually thought these 4 guys, I liked all 4 of these guys, I'll say. I gave it 2.5 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2 only because there was a few moments so I was like, cool. Or, didn't want to fast forward.
I thought Roadkill and Doring were a great team. And Roadkill was, like, damn good for being such a weird-ass gimmick. Just that whole, like, step... That was my favorite. My favorite thing he did was he would, like, be in the middle of the ropes, and he'd, like, step up on the ropes, not in the corner, and then, like, launch himself, like, springboard off the top rope. I'm like, damn, that's pretty agile for a guy that size. But anyway, we now go to the back, where Lance Storm, Just Incredible, Jason, and Dawn Marie of the Impact Players are talking about how they got screwed out of the ECW tag titles, and they're going to win them back tonight. I said the promo was pretty subpar, and they seemed like Lance forgot a couple of his lines and had to go back. I don't know.
Well, he wasn't being serious.
Yeah. I feel like he stepped on Just Incredible's thing, because he was like...
Giggity.
Oh, wow. Well, what was it? That's not just the best, that's not just the coolest, or am I reversing?
Just incredible, yeah.
Yeah. He was like, that's not just the best, that's not just the coolest, and he was like... And then Lance said something about, that's the Impact Players or something. He was like, no, that's Just Incredible. I'm like, Lance, you missed your cue, buddy. Like, that was supposed to go after what you said.
Well, he's on his way out. He don't give a damn. I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't have ever given a damn here. Now we go to Simon Diamond in the ring with Kid Cash, some dude in a white butler outfit, and someone that I thought looked like Pitbull number 2, but I'm not sure. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't know who that was, though.
I thought it was Anthony Durante, but I'm not certain, and I don't know who the hell the butler guy was.
The butler did it, that's all I know.
With Scott Steiner's lead pipe. But Simon Diamond, of course, had a problem. But that problem was about to get worse. Because out comes Judge Jeff Jones, who, for some freaking reason, Kurt Hawkins marks out to. Or Brian Myers. I don't know why I called Kurt Hawkins still. Anyway, he comes out to introduce Mike Awesome, who is one half of the Tag Team Champions and the World Champion. His theme wasn't edited off the WWE Network. I was a little shocked by that, because literally every ECW theme is edited off the network, so...
I think ECW owned that theme, actually.
Okay, that does make sense. I know after a while, Sandman started, he got another band to re-record Enter Sandman, so that they could use it. Oh, was it Motor? Okay. Were they allowed to legally use that one on pay-per-views and stuff?
They did on a couple of DVDs.
Okay.
To me, that's the tale. If it's on DVD,
right.
They clearly got some kind of rights.
Yeah, right. But anyway, Awesome comes out and he says that everyone can either leave the ring or die. So he literally says this. So they all bail out.
Everybody dies.
Except for Kid Cash, of all people, who throws a towel at Awesome's face and starts attacking him. So now we got an impromptu world title match. It's Mike Awesome with Judge Jeff Jones versus Kid Cash for the ECW world title. This went about 4 minutes, 44 seconds. I said only ECW would have an impromptu world title match on a pay-per-view in the middle of the card with a guy who stands 0 chance of winning.
Well, it could have been Spike Dudley.
Yeah, well, they already did that, and he powerbombed his little ass through a table, so they had to get another little guy in there. Mike Awesome absolutely destroys Kid Cash in this one. However, Cash does manage to get in his obligatory dive into the crowd, and he hits the moneymaker on Jeff Jones, sort of. Awesome manages to set up a table, and he hits the top rope Awesome Bomb to Cash through the table for the win. Uncle Dave gives this 3 effing stars. I don't know what the hell. I gave it 2. Let's see.
Literally like a star a minute.
It is. What do you give it?
I give it 1. I did not like it.
I'll say this. I like these guys. I thought in less than 5 minutes
I love Mike Awesome.
Fine. Yeah. I've always been a Kid Cash fan. I don't know why, but I just am. But yeah, I thought they did, for their time, they did okay. But it was less than 5 minutes.
I can't look at a match and give it any rating when it's like 3 or 4 minutes like that.
Well, how are you going to give 3 stars to a match that went less than 5 minutes? Like, what the F?
Because Dave got his upfront payment in cash too, huh?
Yeah, right. Kid Cash really was doling out that cash. Maybe Mike was slipping him a little bit of that early signing bonus from WCW. But after the match, Jazz comes in to check on Kid Cash before getting jumped by Giotto and Gato, to which Simon Diamond cheers on. And now Nova and Chris Chetti run in to save Jazz, beating up Giotto and Gato. So now we got another impromptu match. It's Giotto and Gato with Simon Diamond in their corner taking on Nova and Chris Chetti in 7.5 minutes. This is just every ECW match ever. Like, somebody comes out to cut a promo, somebody runs in, they start beating each other up, ring the bell. That's it.
This is literally how the last match in history of ECW went. I mean, well, pay-per-view anyways.
Yeah.
Jerry Lynn runs down, attacks RVD. We get a match. It's a damn good match, but that's how ECW ends.
They do that all the time.
Go.
So you can't even, like, really advertise ahead of time because all your stuff is, like, basically impromptu. It's stupid. But anyway, Gato's dressed like the third member of Public Enemy, and Giotto is dressed like mini Masato Tanaka. And Masato Tanaka's not a huge man to begin with, so there you go. And Nova is dressed like Venom. So
that I'm cool with.
Yeah, he was the original nerd in wrestling that was doing this stuff. Now they all do it. They stole his gimmick, pal.
Well, it's almost as bad as having to be Simon Dean on TV.
Hey, whoa. Yeah, I have a Jack figure of him.
Of course you do.
Chris Chetti looks out of shape, but he's still doing pretty good stuff. Chetti and Nova hit the tidal wave on Gato for the win. I liked a lot of ECW's tag matches, so I gave it 2.5. Uncle Dave gave it 1/4 of a star. Let's say you.
I gave it 2. It was a little fun. I would say that.
Yeah, it was like 1/4 of a star. Was it really that bad? What was so egregious in this match? Yeah, it was a lot of, like, high spot, run, but I thought he liked that crap.
I don't know. He gave that impromptu one 3 stars, so who knows?
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, and just think, in a few years he'd be repeatedly giving Gato the Booker of the Year award.
So he can't perform with a lick, but he can book.
I guess so. For those that don't know, he's been the Booker of New Japan for years and years and years. But alright, we now get a pre-recorded promo with the New Dangerous Alliance. We know it was pre-recorded because this was the audio that played over Steve Corino in the opening of the show. I've seen this done before, where I was the camera guy. I was like the whole production crew for a wrestling show one time. And they were like, we need you to get a post-match interview with this team. And it was like 2 hours before bell time. And I'm like, how's this even going to work? So they literally like hosed themselves down with water to make it look like they just wrestled a match. And then they grabbed their tag titles and cut a promo and acted like they were all tired out from the match. And it's like, okay. Anyway, Elektra tells us that she hates Paul Heyman for not giving her a shot earlier and only looking at her as a stripper or whatever. And I wonder why.
Hey, but she was.
Yeah. So, because I hate you because you didn't come into my place of employment and say, hey, you should work as a wrestler instead of doing what you've chosen to do. Like, what? Anyway, she hates Danny Doring for apparently having a small Johnson, and she hates Roadkill for talking crap about her backstage, and apparently for having bigger tits than she does. She then flexes her boobs and strokes Louis Dangerously's cell phone like it's Peter meat.
What the fuck?
What's Peter meat?
Yeah. Like, good lord. What the man? God, this is like, we're not done.
Again, I gotta say it. I wonder why this company is no longer around.
Yeah, I wonder. Scratch my chin over here. These are the questions that will baffle humanity forever, Greg. But up next, we got Little Guido with Big Sally Graziano in his corner, taking on Super Crazy in the ECW World TV Title Tournament semifinals. This went for 7 minutes, 47 seconds.
And spoiler, there is no Tajiri, because I didn't know these two could have matches without Tajiri.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not yet. But this is just pure chaos. Guido gets busted open from a chair shot off the top rope. Big Sal accidentally crushes Guido in the corner. Super Crazy gets whipped with a belt. Guido misses Super Crazy and goes to an effing table. It's madness. And as we've learned from every Super Crazy versus FBI member match ever, Super Crazy is Superman and kicks out of literally every damn thing for almost 8 minutes for winning with a brainbuster on a broken piece of table. Uncle Dave and I, however, did give it 3 stars because it was entertaining. What say you?
I gave it 2. And I was like, at the end, I'm like, man, this is not wrestling.
No. They...
Also, I know this is like everyone's criticism on it, but was this match no DQ?
Yeah. I think they all were. I think it's just implied they all are.
I don't agree with that. It needs to be said. I don't think it should just be implied.
Well, it's just ECW rules.
Well, here's my thing, though. They would have actual, like, no DQ and street fights and stuff.
Yeah,
the way you just said, why would you need to do that? Call it that.
Yeah, those didn't make sense. At all. I never got that. I was like, every match of yours is no DQ, so that's why I never understood distracting the ref. I'm like, why are you distracting the ref? There's no disqualifications.
Another thing I always laughed at too is how fast the referees count in ECW.
Yeah, I noticed that. Because he goes down, he's like, 1, 2, 3, ring the bell. I'm like, damn, that was quick. Like, you're not supposed to signal to the crowd, yeah, this is it. But whatever. We now get a commercial for the ECW Hardcore Revolution video game where they show Joey Styles beating up Cyrus in the game. Because, if you want a selling point, you can play as the announcers.
Yeah, but to be fair, you did have to unlock them.
Yeah, I get that, you're showing it off, but, that was the whole commercial. Hey, you can play as us. Watch me beat up on Cyrus for 5 minutes. Cool. Anyway, speaking of cool, up next, we get Kentaro Kanamura versus Balls Mahoney in less than 2 minutes. I will say this, thank God it was less than 2 minutes. I couldn't have stomached any more of this. We had to get the obligatory mention from Joey Styles that Balls was kicked out of amateur wrestling for punching a referee, because that's his line in every effing Balls Mahoney match. Ever.
I don't understand why anyone would be proud of that.
Yeah, that shows he's badass, Greg, and he doesn't follow the rules. Just whatever. But Balls ends up winning with the Nutcracker Suite on a chair. Uncle Dave gave it a dud. I gave it 1 star, because, god dang it, they tried. What say you?
I gave it 1 star, but I'm like, was this really even a match?
Unfortunately.
I feel like it was a segment with a pinfall.
Yeah. I feel the definition of a match is a bell ring, and then a bell ring later on after a pinfall. So, technically, by the textbook definition, it was a match. But then this can't be over, Greg, and we've got to transition into the next impromptu.
Yeah, if you thought that
whatever.
sucked, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, you wanna crank the heat up, Greg? First of all, Kanemaru says, yeah, I got paid for my 2 minutes. I don't work by the hour. I'm out of here. And he took off. And then Devaldi's come in. That's Tony DeVito, Angel, and Vic Grimes. They all come in and jump Balls Mahoney, lay him on a table outside the ring, and then Vic Grimes crushes Balls with a flipping senton off the top rope.
Real sentence.
Yep. That's not the only thing he's going to be crushing tonight, but stay tuned. Now, we get New Jack coming out with a trash can full of weapons. Because, you want to crank up the heat and really put them asses in the seats, man. New Jack. By the way,
my favorite worst wrestler in the history of pro wrestling, by the way.
He's in that conversation for sure. I will say this, the only semi-appealing thing about anything New Jack does is edited off the network. And I know why it is. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it sucks. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's a theme song. Like, I love Natural Born Killers. I thought it was a cool song, especially play on repeat while he's doing his whatever the hell he does. But the one they replace it with is just horrible. I hate it. I will say, though, it's better than... if anybody ever watches Hardcore Homecoming, he was on that show, and they have some generic whatever for him there. That's even worse than the WWE Network one. But alright, it's Vic Grimes versus New Jack. No time was recorded for this. Uncle Dave didn't rate it because it technically wasn't even I guess it was a match? I don't know. It was on the card. But I never heard a bell, okay? So that whole, my textbook definition of match I just gave you is out the window.
Did New Jack ever have a match?
I don't know. That's a good question, Greg. But I said, I guess that the match started when New Jack gets in the ring to beat up Tony DeVito and Angel with various weapons. So I just went with that. He tries to put a PlayStation over DeVito's crotch, but it slides off, and he just whacks him in the crotch with a crutch before slamming a guitar over Angel's head. The only thing I got out of this was that's a waste of a perfectly good PlayStation.
That's a shoot PlayStation, by the way. I don't think that was a working one.
Yeah, right? But now, finally, Grimes is in with a pizza cutter that he takes to Jack's forehead because, yuck. They brawl through the crowd, and Grimes absolutely bludgeons New Jack with one of those metal pole things that holds the nylon ropes for lines. What do they call those things, you know?
No. I just kind of chuckle at the fact that you said lines. Like, I'm pretty sure they all did some lines before this crap started.
Well, I mean, in WWF, Vic Grimes' name was Key, so there you go. Google it, people. I'm not going to explain it. But yeah, for those who want to know what I'm talking about, so those big metal things, if you ever see, like, VIP areas, they got the nylon ropes hooked to it, whatever. It's one of them big-ass heavy things, or you see them in the bank or whatever. He's absolutely beating the tar out of New Jack, who's bleeding profusely at this point. They battle up onto some scaffolding. Here it comes. Grimes sets up tables. They both climb up onto the scaffolding. Grimes is clearly nervous, and he pulls out of an attempted powerbomb. And I guess New Jack was supposed to throw him off through the tables. Well, he got a little nervous. So, like a logical thinking human being, Jack is like, "Oh, you're nervous to jump off here? Well, let me pull you off." So Jack jumps off. He pulls Grimes by his collar down with him. New Jack basically double stomps through the tables. Vic Grimes front flips and lands on New Jack's head on the concrete.
What the fuck?
Gotta draw money, man.
How much do you wager that they got paid for this? Huh?
You're assuming the checks cash or checks cleared, huh?
Yeah, that's my point exactly. This cracked New Jack's skull, caused brain damage, and left him mostly, I think it blinded him completely in his right eye.
Okay, but how much more damage can you do to that brain?
I know, the low-hanging fruit, I get it. But seriously, like,
and I don't want people to think I'm not crapping on a human being, but the fact is he gets off on this crap.
Yeah.
He still does it to this day. So.
Well, here's my thing. Was the brain damage, the blindness, all of that, and I think he lost some hearing in his right ear, was all of that worth that gift certificate to Wendy's that he got paid?
And this was before the 444 deal.
Yeah. or the $5 Biggie box. Yeah. So, gosh, man, was it worth it, New Jack? Because I'm gonna say probably not.
Well, rumor has it one of these guys called him the N-word.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That table called him the N-word with a hard R. If people don't know, we're referencing his crap from Dark Side of the Ring, where allegedly every single person called him the N-word before he stabbed them. So, and out of his own mouth, by the way, XPW booked a scaffolding match between these guys, by the way. The ring was filled with tables to, I guess, break their fall. I don't know. And New Jack said he was going to kill Vic Grimes. So he gets up there. He was hiding a taser. As soon as Vic Grimes got up there, he tased him so Grimes couldn't move. Like, he lost muscle function, and he was trying to chuck him so far that he wanted him to land on the ring post and die. But he missed, thankfully, and he only hit the tables. But it was still pretty gruesome. So XPW almost booked murder. Good effing stuff, Greg.
Just trying to figure out how that's any different than this crap right here.
I will say, in slight defense of Paul Heyman, he didn't know that anybody was going to get... Like, he didn't know this was going to happen. But Why are you booking New Jack, man? What money is he drawing?
The idiots.
I guess. You know what's
Hey, every
funny
dollar
is,
counts.
you know what's funny is New Jack was a subject of Dark Side of the Ring Season 2. XPW will be a subject of Season 3. So look out for that. But anyway, if we're going to call this a match, Uncle Dave never even rated it because it wasn't technically a match. I gave it -5 stars. The worst thing I've ever seen.
I didn't rate it because I don't think it was a match, so I refused to give it any stars.
Yeah, he won't even dignify it.
No.
Yeah.
There was a point even when I was watching, like, why am I still watching this? I think I could have skipped over this and probably been fine with this whole review.
I fast-forwarded through some of the stuff in the crowd. It was like, they're hitting each other with stuff. Whatever. It's not going to change my perception of any of this.
Those are working cookie sheets, right?
Yeah, right.
Those things are bending hell easy, so.
Vic Grimes gets helped out of the arena while holding a fist up in victory, I guess.
kind of help he needs.
Yeah. The Impact players are now in the ring because we got to get the camera off of New Jack slowly bleeding to death.
How can you go from like one of the worst wrestlers ever to one of the best?
Yeah, I know. We go from that to actual wrestlers. But the Impact players are in the ring, and Storm says that he wants their belts back. This leads to the champions.
Valve.
Not in ECW, they're not. But this leads to the champions hauling ass to the ring without delay.
I'm shocked that they didn't use actual belts from Kmart for the titles. Sorry.
I know. If anybody listens to my Monday podcast, Retro Wrestling Review, I watched some old NWA stuff from the 60s and the 50s, and it looked like you could, I've seen belt buckles bigger than what they wore. I'm not even joking. It looked like it could hold your pants up. I'm like, must have been why they called it a belt. But anyway, I said they must have been running low on pay-per-view time. They weren't, but I'll get to that at the end. It is now Raven and Mike Awesome defending the ECW tag titles against the Impact players of Lance Storm and Justin Credible, with Don Marie and Jason Knight in their corner, and the third team of
Jason.
Right. And the third team of Tommy Dreamer and Masato Tanaka, for reasons. This went about 9 minutes long. After about a minute of these four guys brawling, Dreamer and Tanaka finally rushed the ring to join the fight. Again, that's how every ECW match goes. At least this one was advertised.
It's like an impromptu Royal Rumble that happens to have bells.
I know. It's dumb. But the champions are like, wouldn't that be convenient, though? If you're Dreamer and Tanaka? Just wait it out, man.
I would.
I know. They're idiots. And, spoiler, they didn't win. So, but the champions are eliminated first when Tanaka hits Awesome with a roaring elbow for the pin. Thanks for coming, Mike. The Impact players finally end the match with a spike piledriver on Tommy Dreamer for the win. I felt that this was a bit rushed, but it was good for what it was. Uncle Dave gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2.5. Let's say you.
Gave it 2. I love Mike Awesome. I'll say that.
There's not a guy in this ring I didn't like, at least at the time, and I don't know. It was rushed. That's all I can say. A 3-team elimination match for the tag titles goes 9 effing minutes. I'll get to why at the end, but I still think
3
it's
minutes
super
team,
crazy.
dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway. Now, while the new tag team champions are celebrating, Cyrus joins them to congratulate them. He says that the network approves, and he gives Justin and Jason handshakes, but he hugs Lance and Dawn Marie. He hugs Dawn a little bit too long, and she shoves him off.
I would too.
Yeah. Wow. After the Impact players leave, Cyrus has to cut another long-ass effing promo, and he introduces the network's choice, Rhino, who comes out flanked by Steve Corino and Jack Victory. While Corino is going on and on about the network always getting what it wants, Cyrus, not Corino. Paul Heyman finally interrupts him with just 5,000 F-bombs. I'm like, good lord, dude. You sound like a 12-year-old while playing Call of Duty and your parents are gone for the evening.
Well, not necessarily. He didn't threaten to do anything to his mother.
And he didn't drop the N-word, so there is that. But I did say he looks like he hasn't slept in about 2 weeks, and he actually looks younger in 2021 than he did here.
Good Lord. It's true.
He just looked like he'd been through the ringer, man, which, I mean, it was ECW in 2000, so I buy it.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
Joel Gertner now comes out, all serious, saying that the network goes down right effing now. Like, cool. And then Super Crazy rushes the ring. He jumps Rhino, we start the match. There we go, main event
Because
time,
when I think
everybody.
about taking out the network, I think about Super Crazy.
Right? When you need to end a tyrannical reign of the network, you bring out the insane luchador, Super Crazy. Whatever. But it's Rhino with Steve Corino, Jack Victory, and Cyrus all in his corner, taking on Super Crazy for the ECW World Television title. It is the finals of the tournament. It went just under 8 minutes.
Tournament, bro.
The crowd starts chanting, "We want Sandman" from the opening bell, and just keeps going. So this match is dead in the
Every time
water.
they say it, I'm like, no, we don't.
You're right. Why? Why would you want Sandman when you've got two real wrestlers in the ring right now? But when Super Crazy goes for the triple moonsault, Rhino pulls the ref on top of him, so Crazy lands on the ref and knocks him out. Tajiri runs in now. There he is, Greg. And he missed Crazy in the face. Then Buzzsaw kicks his damn head off. Tajiri and Rhino then put Super Crazy in the corner and beat him up. Finally, Rob Van Dam's music hits, and he's brought out to the ring on the shoulders of Scott Anton, or Scotty Riggs from WCW. And he gets in the ring to break his crutch over Rhino's back, and then he flapjacks Rhino through a table. Super Crazy hits a moonsault on Rhino and wins. I will say, I didn't know that was going to happen, so cool. I mean, I think Rhino wins it like shortly hereafter, but still. Uncle Dave gave it a 1 3/4 because he, has to get granular. I gave it a 1.5 because it wasn't very good. What say you?
I gave it 2. I don't know why, but I didn't hate it. But I also gave it little points for shock value because I remember watching it thinking it was going to be easily Rhino, and that was it.
Right, yeah. My whole thing was just like, this was their main event.
And their world title match was impromptu.
Yeah. This was it. I'm like, really? What the hell? After the match, Rhino beats up Rob Van Dam and he gores him, which Super Crazy just ignores, by the way. He lets all this go on. Did you notice that?
In the middle of that?
Yeah, he's just like, huh? But, I guess I should get involved now that you took Rob out. But, yeah, he ignores all this until Rhino starts beating him up, and then he beats up Scott Anton. Rhino, Tajiri, Steve Corino, and Jack Victory, and even Cyrus now all beat up the baby faces. I say Cyrus, but really, he literally rolled his papers up and started smacking them with it. But they beat up all the baby faces until Sandman's music hits, the crowd goes wild. He comes through the crowd with his cane. Everybody bails for some reason, leaving Rhino all alone to take his caning, and Sandman completely destroys that cane over Rhino's head. The heels all pull Rhino out of the ring, and they leave, while the babyfaces stand tall, sharing some beers. And final note here, the show went off the air about 30 minutes earlier than they planned, because they were trying to rush through the final 2 matches, trying to end the show ASAP, because they thought New Jack may literally be dead. Hey, WWF literally had a man die on pay-per-view, a year before this, and they kept pushing on, alright? New Jack was fine.
To be fair, they did too. In a rough way.
Yeah, they were like, let's hurry it up. Like, well, what was hurrying up gonna do? Bring it back to life? What the hell? That's the thing. It was like, oh, we don't know. He's in a bad way. He might actually die. So let's hurry this along. Like, why? You're still moving on,
right? That boy's been in a bad way for a while.
This is true. But it's like, why though? Like, if you're going to push on, just nut up and push on. But if you're not, then don't. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Push on, man. That sounds like the worst porno ever.
Go for the gold. That's all I can say. But anyway, we're going to take our last break of the podcast. When we come back, it's final ratings time, and we're going to tell you what's to come for the bonus show this Friday and what's coming next week on the podcast.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Dave's dream car. Of course, he prefers the pearl white to the cherry red, but you can't fit 3 kids and a dog who's prone to car sickness in a sports car. Yeah, Dave's had to compromise a lot lately. But not when it comes to cutting the cord. Fubo gives him all the sport he needs, as well as all the shows his family loves. Don't compromise. Get over 100 channels, plus Showtime and Cloud DVR included. Visit FuboTV.com.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back for the final time tonight. Final ratings here. Internet Movie Database, easy for me to say, gave this show 6.1 out of 10. Okay. CageMatch.net gave it 4.56 out of 10. I gave it a 5 out of 10. So, F. What say you?
F.
You watch Community, right?
Sucked, man.
Yeah. Well, you've seen that show Community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You remember that where he's like, F minus. That's all I could think of. Yeah, this blew chunks in so many ways. And it was only 2 hours. So...
Can you give him credit for shoving that much crap into 2 hours?
No, I can't. It's just like, I mean, I guess if you're going to blast the diarrhea out, you want it to be quick and, over with as soon as possible. Like, hot damn, dude. Like, you're going to thrust this upon us for whatever price point they had, and you're going to shave a half an hour off of it, because a man might be dead, I guess. And let's say the New Jack match, or whatever the hell that thing was supposed to be, went off without a hitch, and there was no possibility of death. So what? This still would have sucked ass. Let's tack on that extra 30 minutes. Still sucks.
I don't know if you're complaining or praising right now, like 30 minutes off.
Yeah, both, I guess. I don't know. Like, the 30 minutes wouldn't have helped it, but at the same time, it's like, whatever.
I'm grateful I didn't have to watch any more of this.
I am too. I saw the runtime and I was like, oh, thank God. But anyway, that's Living Dangerously 2000. Thank the good Lord above. It's done and over with, and
Watching this pay-per-view is, in fact, Living Dangerously, folks.
It is. And just so everyone is aware, I'm looking months ahead at the lineup. I have booked way ahead of time. We don't have another ECW show until July. So if you want more ECW, sorry. Go back in the archives and listen to that, I guess. I can't stomach it. I can't.
People ask me why I give it so much crap. I've actually had people say, why do you give it so much crap? Because it sucked.
I will say this, after watching this, if I did have more ECW coming up in the near future, I would have changed our schedule. Like, that's how much I hated the show.
I'm just going to say at this point right now, I'd rather watch AEW. I mean that. I'm not trying to be funny.
I mean, I watch AEW weekly, so I don't know what that's really saying, unless you really hate that.
Lately, yes.
Oh, man.
It's not this bad, though. Nothing's this bad.
No, because they actually try. This, if they were trying, like, as they say in the South, God bless your heart.
Here's my thing with them. They're being run by a little douchey mark. This was actually run by a guy with a brain. That's what scares me.
Yep. He liked garbage, man. But all right, this Friday is our bonus show. We have been plugging TNA Destination X 2007, but thinking about it more, it is the 20-year anniversary, or I'm sorry, the 15-year anniversary of TNA Destination X 2006, and I looked at the card, and the card looked really good. Very anxious to watch this again. It's got AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels in a triple threat Ultimate X match. Looking forward to seeing all that. Christian Cage versus Monty Brown for the NWA title. It looked good. I'm looking forward to watching it. And I wanted to squeeze more TNA in the schedule. So there's going to be more TNA.
I always want to squeeze more TNA too, so I think we should do this.
Wow. I'm trying to get at least...
So many CW moves, sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to get at least one TNA show in per month. April is one of my favorite TNA months ever, so because it's lockdown month. So we actually have 2 lockdown anniversary shows booked for next month. And June is Slammiversary month, so we got 2 there too. So I am very much looking forward to the future with more TNA combed in, and people have been listening in droves to our TNA shows, which pleasantly surprised me. So thank you for that. It inspired our schedule. But yeah, so that is coming up this Friday for the bonus show. For those of you listening on the Unhinged Network, it will play Monday. Our normal Monday replay at 7 o'clock Eastern is now going to be our bonus show, so you can hear the TNA show there. And then our final show of the month, March 31st, we're wrapping up WrestleMania month, man, with a really, I want to say it's a forgotten great WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania 21.
Yeah, the dawn of Cena and Batista.
Yeah, it's a big night. Much like the previous WrestleMania was launching something new, this WrestleMania was also launching something new. So tune in for that. Again, for everybody, please subscribe and review. Leave a review if you are listening to us on podcast platform. If you want to catch the replay, if you're listening to us on Unhinged, you can catch us tomorrow night, Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's unhingedsn.com or unhingedsn.airtime.pro. We are sponsored by Fubo TV and Fanatics. The links are in the podcast description. If you click on them, let them know that we sent you for the main event marks in the Unhinged Sports Network. And, of course, we drop a new episode every Wednesday. Thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry you had to live dangerously with me, buddy. But this Friday
I won't do it again. Next time I'll jump off a cliff.
Well, this Friday we'll make up for it, I think, because we are going to Destination X.